Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic issue 27. Shattered Grid is continuing. Obviously, it wouldn't just randomly end before anything finished. But anyway, this was a very good issue. End of review. Close credits. No, there is no credits. It just fades to black. Anyway, I'm like all over the place and we're only like less than 30 seconds in. This was a really good issue. Probably my favorite issue of like the proper comic, meaning, you know, not one of the annuals, which there's only been one. Or like the free comic one. Like I'm talking about within Shattered Grid. I don't know about favorite issues ever, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember them each individually from the issues before Shattered Grid started. Maybe a couple, but out of the Shattered Grid ones in the main line so far, out of the three, it's probably my favorite because it actually did quite a lot, but it felt very well paced, and I like that it's starting to get like in the thick of it, and it feels like we're in the thick of it. But it also took time out for like some nice little character moments. But basically, I believe the first part we open up at is in Coinless World, where it's revealed that, you know, they're interrogating, I think it was Zach they're interrogating, and that Skull has been undercover as a Red Sentry, and so that was a neat beat. And they come back to that later when they traveled back to the world of the Coinless and say like, oh yeah, I rose through the ranks. And that was something that was interesting, just an interesting little detail that it honestly may have been, you know, outlined before at some point and I just didn't catch it. But I think I like, and it makes sense that like the sentries are like rank based. It kind of reminds me, it's like an SPD, you know, that, you know, it's like rankings, you know, you get promoted to Red Ranger or to Blue Ranger. I thought that was interesting, just especially with the way that the MMPR powers worked before they got grafted into these sentries in the world of the Coinless. But so I thought that was a cool little detail that I thought was neat. That was a neat thing that Skull was undercover. Then there's a scene of Draken on the throne holding the little Zeonizer crystal. And it's really funny actually how meta Draken's story is. Like, because he's sort of sitting there contemplating like, you know, or Friendster was asking like, why'd you spend so much time in the Zeo world? And he's like, no reason, like, I don't have to tell you, go to your room. Wait, that's like a kid telling his parent to go to the room. That's like the opposite. Anyway, you know what I mean. But anyway, the point of that is that, you know, he's just sitting there contemplating like, why do they worship Tommy so much? And it's so funny because it's so meta. Like I said, how like the fandom stuff's been going with all the Tommy stuff and the JDF stuff over the years, the recent years. And then you, of course, right now, you have a lot of people that complain about the comic or don't want to give the comic a chance because there's so much Tommy focus. I thought about doing a video on that and why I'm fine with it, which I still might do because I don't want to take up 5 minutes or more in the middle of a review to go over my thoughts on that and stuff. But I think it's cool on two levels because it's kind of funny meta. I feel like it's at least partly intentional. There's no way it's not. But it's also this really interesting character thing for Draken because it kind of plays into some of this stuff from Tommy's arc, you know, we followed from the comic, which he carried like this sort of guilt for what he did and sort of, you know, doesn't feel deserving of forgiveness, but he wants it. Like that's one thing which I might go over in that video, is that they really dealt with the actual repercussions of him being the Green Ranger instead of just, oh, you're evil, now we're getting smoothies. But of course Draken's the dark version of that, and so he doesn't understand why they all like Tommy in this world, why they give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he somewhere regrets betraying them and would think, you know, I can't go back now, but they forgave him. I don't know, it's like interesting because it's such a small little line or series of lines throughout this that have I feel give this really neat aspect to his character, but it's also really meta to like the outside fandom stuff, like with Tommy being such a popular character and, you know, JDF being a popular Ranger actor and stuff like that. But then we get this cool scene. You have Lauren and the Rangers sort of getting the down low in this like lounge area of the command center. The coolest thing about it was Zordon had like a little like energy or like a screen to go up on. Like I thought that was neat. It reminded me of something and I can't think of what it was, but just I've seen it in various things where you have like an AI character or something like that, and like they have different rooms in their base or a house and they can pop up anywhere. And I thought that was just neat. It was, again, it's such a small detail. But then they're in the command center and then Zordon is sending a message out to all the worlds, and you get to see this really cool panel that shows a bunch of the different worlds, like SPD, I think Dino Charge was there, Dino Thunder, Space, Galaxy, I think, Ninja Steel. There was a bunch of them, and like they're fighting, and you get this monologue from Zordon being like, watch out! Like, Pam, it's Roy! look out. Wait, it was Jim. He was warning Jim, not Pam. But that's basically what it was, and it says, like, may the power protect you. And it was a really cool scene. I liked it a lot. And then they get a transmission from Dr. K, who's like, oh, thank God I found someone. They're like, look out, your Rangers might be depowered. They're like, I figured that out a while ago. Come on, side. I'm Dr. K. Like, that's what happened with that. And then they got a transmission from Coinless. So we split up. We got, I think it was Jason and Kim going to, or Jason, not Kim, I was thinking of Kim Crossman. Jason and Lauren going to RPM dimension. And then Zach, Billy, and Trini went to the world of the Coinless, and they met up with the Resistance, and Poe was there, and no, I'm just kidding, no, you know what I'm talking about. But it was like right before the battle of Scarif, and they're like, oh crap, we gotta get out of here, and then they hightailed it out of there just before the First Order showed up. I couldn't stop even after I called the joke out. Anyway, so they meet up with the Resistance, but then the other cool stuff is the main cool stuff, side note, when they are all going away, I honestly can't remember where Kim and Jen went, because I don't think they highlighted it as much afterwards. I'm sorry I'm forgetting that, but my point is when they all transported, like, it was neat to see Kim and Lauren teleporting. Like, it was such a small little super fan servicey geek out, but mainly because it baffles my mind that the teleporting thing was something Power Rangers invented, you know, because it's not really a thing in Sentai. I can't think of any of the Sentais I've watched where they've used it. So it was like a Power Rangers thing that lasted, what, through In Space? I think In Space it was less highlighted, but more or less the Zordon era, and then no one ever used it again. I mean, to be fair, they're not in the Zordon era, but I always thought it was a cool power that the Rangers had that would make things so much more convenient, because there's been so many plots where they're like, oh man, I can't get there. I'm like, yeah, you could just teleport. Why did we have more advanced technology in 1995 than we do in 2017? So like, a part of me was like, oh, that's so cool, they're teleporting, and then it's like old-fashioned, but it should be something all the Rangers have. So it was like a combination of that's so cool and like me having an internal nerd rage, like, why don't we still have the teleporting? That was like, I spent like 2 minutes on like a small detail no one's gonna even care about. Anyway, they're all on their missions. We're in the RPM dimension. It was really cool because Jason and Lauren basically traveled, because they had to be transported out into like the wasteland because they couldn't transport directly to Corinth. And they're traveling in the T-Rex Zord. And that was cool just to see the T-Rex Zord in the desert. And there was a time for a neat little scene with Lauren and Jason talking about basically the responsibility of being the Red Ranger. I thought it worked really well, and I'm really glad they used Lauren, both because I'm glad that they're not just doing fan service, generic groupthink fan favorite characters, and like ignoring groupthink hate characters that like people like to hate. So I'm glad we used somebody from Samurai, especially Lauren, because she's one of my favorite parts of Samurai. And it was an interesting conversation because a lot of Jason's story, especially in this comic, revolves around sort of the weight he feels of the Red Ranger helmet. And Lauren has a unique perspective on that because, you know, she had literally trained her whole life and had this whole destiny about it. And there was an interesting back and forth, and that's one of the little moments I appreciated, that this story is more than just, oh my god, they're standing next to each other! Like, you can just picture that in your head. It's like the little character moments like that was like, it made sense because they both have similar yet different perspectives on the weight of the Red Ranger helmet, and that was cool. And then they arrive at Corinth, and you see the RPM Rangers fighting. It was some cool bits to see. Doc K's out in the field. There was a couple little lines from Ziggy that felt very natural to the series. I also loved hearing the Ranger dialogue from there. The Ranger, I always loved the way they called him Ranger Operator in like Series Red and Series Black and all that, and it almost sounds like Sirius Black, and the biofield, and because she called it the biofield, and I thought that was cool because she doesn't know is the Morphin grid. That was the same thing, right? Right. But it was cool. It was cool to see the RPM stuff. But then the big panel at the end, which was kind of a surprise in a way. It was very much of a fan, like, fanning out moment, like just fanning, just like, I don't know why I did this. Like, I was trying to make a fan. I'm like, this seems like a wave. It's clear it's a fan if I do this. Like, I was trying to, like, you know, fanning, like getting cool. You get the picture. Anyway. God, sidetracked. So like they're like, oh, we gotta do this stuff, and they're like, oh no, Draken's here, and like Draken shows up, and he's got the A Squad with him, he's got the Psychos with him, and he's got Korag with him, which was really, really cool. Even though we know Korag's secretly a good guy at heart, you know how I do. But that was really cool. It was such, like I said, a fan service moment, but I kind of wasn't expecting it. I don't know why, because, you know, like the Rangers are sort of gathering up these forces of Rangers from the other worlds at times. But, you know, Draken's been all about his sentries, so I just kind of assumed we're gonna, side note, I hope we see some other sentry designs, because like before the comic started, we already got to see Blue Samurai and Green Zeo sentries, which was cool, but it's like, can you not save it for when we read it? But I want to see at least one more sentry design. That's a total side note. But like, that was his thing. I didn't think that he was going to actually recruit evil rangers. That was a cool panel. Not to mention, his suit's all changed again, because I totally forgot to mention back during his other conversation scene, Finster was like readying his chamber or whatever he uses to graft the powers together, and he said, oh, warning, it'll hurt or whatever, like may cause discomfort, you know, dry eye, dry mouth, whatever, just dry eye, just use whatever that eye medicine is, you know. Honestly, I could not pick out what the change, I mean, I see what the changes are, but I couldn't be like, oh, that's from this season, that's from this season, like when he transformed into Samurai. Maybe he didn't even transform him, I was playing tricks on me, but I'm pretty sure he's got some upgrades. In the comments, if you know, let me know, that would be appreciated, because I honestly couldn't tell. I stared at it for a while, and I'm like, I'm the dumbest boy in Skidoo, and I couldn't figure out which ones they were, like a Samurai, but when Hasbro gets the license, on the top, tippy top of my list is Draken figures. I know we're getting the Comic-Con one for our Comic-Con, Morphicon one for regular Draken, but talking about, now that that's, you know, more figures from them for the comic are out of the question, for Bandai, I mean, I want to see Hasbro eventually do, I want Draken, I want Samurai Draken, I want whatever the whoozy this Draken is, I want future Drakens, I want Sentries, I want it all! Like, this is America, I want it now! But anyway, I've gone on long enough, I didn't want this to be over 10 minutes, but too late. But it's a very good issue, 9 out of 10. Again, like, why isn't the whole Shattered Grid out now? Let's just release it all, we can read it all, and then take a nice break of a week before the next issue. Like, I got to know. Anyway, that's about it for this one. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It's Dawson Ryder, signing out.